everyone, and welcome back to Art with Miss Choate. I hope you've been having fun this week. And so for our Saturday in the studio, I figured we'd take it back a little bit, relax, and we're going to be creating a mandala. And for those of you who don't know, a mandala is basically starts with a simple dot in the center, which is going off of our pointillism, and then we're going to go from there and we're going to expand off of that, going off into circles. Now you can trace circles, you can freehand the circles. I would recommend that we do it with pencil first and then go in with some watercolors. If you don't have watercolors, this is great for markers. And again, this is another one of those techniques where you're basically creating your own coloring page. So let's get started. So we're going to be drawing a mandala, and the mandala generally starts from the center, but I want to give you a little bit of background as to what a mandala is. It's a geometric configuration of symbols, and it has a lot of different uses. Some people use a mandala to put their focus and attention on something. Some people use it as a meditation tool or a spiritual tool. So I like to start with a dot in the center. That gives me a place to start. And then you can either take other circles and trace, or you can freehand. So I'll do a few each way to kind of show you the differences. I personally really prefer freehanding my circles. I think it helps me focus more on what I'm creating than worrying about the circle itself. And so I sometimes will build up rings of a circle. And remember, it's about geometric shapes. So I might build up a few rings. Now, if you're the type that is really worried about these circles being perfect, remember we can do that trick I showed you. So you put your finger on that dot, pencil holding down, rotate that paper. It's one easy way of getting some nice circles. And now we're going to go back in and we're going to be doing shapes and patterns. So one easy would be a zigzag line. I like doing these in pencil first, and then going either with watercolor, markers, black pens, and I'll show you the different techniques we can do. And so I've gone around and I've done my zigzag. You could go back in, add more detail. I think the more detail you add to these mandalas, the more convincing they look, the more interesting they are. And in a way, these are kind of like Zentangles. You're staying focused. And it's any kind of mixture of lines, shapes, patterns. So I did some simple lines. I could go back in and do some dots in there. And if you wanted to turn this into a partner work, you totally could. You could do a ring. The next person could do the next ring. That's up to you. There's no right and wrong. I remember what I said about detail. The detail doesn't have to be difficult. I also, if you notice, I'm rotating my paper instead of moving my hand around. I find that a little easier. And maybe I could do some circles in here now. Be creative. And then you're going to want to keep going. So now you have two options. You can either set up your paint right away, and you can go in and maybe you don't want to worry about being too careful, and you can just give some areas some paint. and then go back in with your black marker and do your details. Or you could do your black marker first and then do your paint. It depends on what your goal is, or what you want to do. I grabbed a really big paintbrush, and I wasn't trying to be too careful on purpose. But if that's not something that you want to do, that's okay too. So I'm just gonna give this a little bit more color in here. And don't forget about blending. So I was planning on putting some colors on top of each other. Put some pink in the center there. And you can even take your paintbrush and do a ring, especially if it's wide like this. And if you don't like how that color turned out, just give it a second coat. But I'm really liking how that's looking. I could even do that again if I wanted to. Following that same circle. Oops, wrong color. Oops, that was really watery. It's okay. Just gonna take it and blend it into the other. But I'm liking how that's looking. So now if I'm done with my colors, I want to leave that area white. Now I could go back in once it's dry, or you could do it when it's wet, but it might bleed a little bit. And you can go over your details. You could do lots of different colors. You could just do a black. That's up to you. I really like how the black contrasts. And now you could choose. You don't have to go over all the lines. You could only go over some. And there you go. So there's our mandala. Now you could go in, add more. You could go on top. I know we had done this painted line after we had drawn. You could decide, you know what, I really like that, so let's add in more lines. That's up to you. How careful you want to be. What's your style? That's up to you. I don't want to put a line there because I like how that blended together, but maybe I do. I like how that looks. So here we have a mandala I did earlier. I started with my center circle, and then I started thinking about the leaves from the plants that are on my table, and I could have done rings around it. I could keep going with this one. Really, this can be as big or as small as you want. You could do multiple on one sheet. That's up to you. So I hope you had today a good day and the Saturday in the studio. Hopefully you had a good time in your own home studio environment as well, and let me see those beautiful mandalas. Please post them to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Show me what you've created. Let me know in the comments if you liked it, if you thought this was challenging or not challenging enough. Let me know. Hit that like button if you enjoy doing this, and please always subscribe and pass this along to people. If you think there's somebody else that would enjoy this mandala technique, let them know on this beautiful Saturday. So have a wonderful day and tune in for Sunday in the studio tomorrow. All right, bye.